Alright guys, welcome to my Bloodburst Necro build for Flames of Ambition. Let's jump right into it. Let's check out the stats page. So, our pets and a potion, we go up to 1600 mag recovery, just under 5000 spell damage, 39.3 spell critical, 18.8 spell pen. That's really kind of the bulk of like our offensive stats, which is actually really great. Definitely where they need to be. You'll see they change a little bit depending on where our health is and various things. We are running the Lover-Minded Stone to get that high pen. Let's go into the ability. No, not the champion, the abilities. So this is the namesake for the build. Blood for Blood. Pretty good ability. Definitely works. Could be a little bit better. I wouldn't be surprised if they buffed it in the future. Probably should be 7 meters of range, and maybe it needs something else. But it does work great right now for what it's worth, and for the build we're running. It fills that void that we don't have, which is a lack of an execute. So this is basically. So this is performing like, this is an execute for this build. Inner Light, 100% uptime on the major prophecy, which is huge on the front bar for this build. It's really great, plus 5% max mag. And the D-stealth on Night Blades, pretty important. Make sure you can get those kills. Race Against Time, really helps with our execute when people are trying to run away. It also prevents us from getting snared or anything like that, so if someone just wants to snare us and then run away, they can't do that either. We also get a nice little 10% crit damage bonus, which is huge. Blast Bones, this is part of our combo. With Avid Boneyard, these two guys, they hit really, really hard. So you cast Blast Bones, drop a Boneyard, and then hopefully they either run into it or they get pulled into it off the Beckoning Armor, and then you activate the synergy. Hopefully Blast Bones lands, and then you just Blood for Blood. You can definitely kill people like that. Beefy people too. That's a pretty nice combo. Really great. Honestly, I've been liking it a lot this patch. This is definitely the most challenging build that I've played so far. Mainly because of Blood for Blood. That's kind of why I think the ability needs to be buffed, because it's definitely high risk. You're killing yourself in essence. There are benefits to it. You can pressure your opponents, especially if they turtle. You can just keep spamming this and it doesn't really matter, because your you're still gonna have your mag pool and your stam pool. So if people try to turtle, you spam this, you spam weave it, and a lot of you can actually kill people that way, because they're just not used to people actually having that much resource available to them. Because if you're at 26k, it's going to take a while for you to get down low. So yeah, it's a good ability, but it needs a little extra oomph. Colossus, obviously, this ability's, it's fun. It's kind of hard to hit people sometimes. It's kind of buggy. Like area of effect abilities, I think there's something. So they don't always hit. It's a little too. They should probably not be dodgeable anymore, in my opinion. But anyway, we'll move on to the back part. Dead in Pain. I've used this ability since release. I think it's great. It's free. While it's slotted, you take 3% less damage. We get 3 corpse every rotation, so that's 6. Was it 6? It's actually quite a bit of healing. It's 6 seconds of healing, and then 6 seconds of major protection, which is great. This is doing a lot for something that's free. It definitely kind of like, it helps you when your pets, like if your pets drop, and you haven't quite summoned some of them back up yet. When you use this ability, it kind of helps. It gives you a little buffer to get your pets back up. Ideally, you want to have them up and then resummon them while they're still active but low, and then do the Dead in Pain. But if you get caught off guard or something like that, this can kind of buy you a little bit of time. Beckoning armor, previous patches I ran the other morph for the cost reduction, so I could slot more spell damage on the jewelry glyphs, but since we're running since we have melee range, this ability is just great. It's just really annoying. It's really annoying for people to deal with, honestly. Like, it's just a pain. And for us, it works great. You pull them in and you just hit them with blood for blood a couple of times, or pop their synergy on them when they get drawn in, and they'll get hit by like a tick at the graveyard. Resistant Flesh, this is our burst heal, is very strong this patch. You can be, super low, like a couple thousand health, and you shoot straight back up to max health off of just one pop. And that comes with the resistances too, so if you're getting bursted down or something like that, or someone's trying to kill you, this ability can definitely give you that survivability that you desperately need this patch, which is great. Spirit Guardian, amazing ability. I would only recommend this morph. Basically, the pet can go heal other people, but you'll always get the 10% damage reduction, because that's only for you. It doesn't affect the person that's being healed. With the other morph, you get like twice as much healing, but like the pet can just go run off and heal someone else in the area, and then you'll be getting nothing. So I definitely recommend this morph. It's great. I love it. This is not my favorite, but it adds to the body count. It used to be better a couple patches ago. It used to do twice as much damage, which it probably should again. But it does give us 100% uptime on our penetration passive. So we're back up at 18.8, which is great. So that's one and he's always dealing damage. Sometimes it's not at the target you want, but yeah, he's always dealing damage, and it's in an area of effect, so it's okay. I primarily run it just because it's really 100% uptime on the damage, and you get the extra dead and pain body, which is huge. That's 6 seconds. It makes a big difference with the healing and the ultimate too, especially when we're trying to get to more expensive ultimate costs. And even inexpensive ones, it just means you can just keep pumping out abilities like no problem. Temporal Guard just for the slotted minor protection on the back bar. I'll go a little more into flex slots after we go over the sets. Let's see, we are obviously a vampire, stage 3, so you need to have this. The undead gives us a lot of damage reduction, which is huge. So yeah, definitely, if you're I'd definitely recommend being stage 3 if you want to run this build, because when you go low, you really want, right? The idea is that we want to drop our health low and then cast blood for blood, basically, to get the most out of to eke the most amount of damage out of it. So having this passive makes it much more functional. Doesn't always work out, but it definitely gives us the best chance. So yeah, let's see, race Breton. I think it's best in slot vampires, honestly, because this just mitigates the cost. So you only have a 1% cost increase, and then you get a mag recovery, plus the spell resistance helps offset the flame damage, the extra flame damage that you're gonna take, and this effect gets doubled too when you have an effect, a status effect on you. It probably should be all status effects and not just burning childer concussed, but yeah. Increased max mag, obviously some extra damage, it's great. That passive to the extra increased alliance points, I always like that, it's kind of nice. Oh yeah, obviously medicinal use, you want that. Alright, sets. So we are running Rattle Cage, and we are running True Sworn. So this is a new set this patch, I think. So basically it gives you a ton of extra, it goes up to 16. Let me see if it has that. So it goes up to 16 extra spell critical damage when you're under 50, and it's like 2,800 extra spell critical, which is more than, I think it's more than yeah, it's more than Major Sorcery or Major Prophecy gives you. But of course, you only get that bonus when you go below 50% health. So that's why we're using, partly why we're using the Blood for Blood. So we can kind of force that if we need to. It just kind of ensures that we're always, we're at least going to have that 75% buff at the very least. That's going to be up quite a bit of the time. And then Slime Craw for the monster set. If you don't have Slime Craw, I definitely recommend Slime Craw, but if you don't have it, Balgor's is fine. I kind of feel like Balgor's is always going to be a great monster set for Mag Necro. It pairs really well with this. When it goes off, I think if you have 500 ult, when it goes off, you go up to, your spell pen goes up to cap resistances, and then you're getting an extra 500 spell damage, plus you're dealing 10% extra damage with the major vulnerability. So it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to survive through that. You're dealing a lot of damage. So it's not definitely not. It's definitely second place, but it's a close second. It's not a bad set at all. Slime Craw just gives you that extra crit chance, which means when we go below 50% health, our crit chance goes up to 51.4% chance, which is huge. That's a very good crit chance. Plus we gain that base damage, that minor berserk at all times, which is big because Magcro is generally just lacking in damage. So getting that with 100% uptime is really important. It kind of checks two boxes. It's definitely a nice fit for this build. All light pieces, better recovery, more crit, 2% more crit, plus 1600 more spell penetration. So for this build, it actually works really nice. It's great. And then the jewelry rattle cage, because rattle cage is heavy. 2 infused spell damage, 1 harmony. You might need to change this to a cost reduction glyph, or a spell cost reduction glyph, or a mag recovery glyph, if you're having sustain issues. But that's kind of, it's personally, it's up to you. I'm honestly, I'm gonna go farm another forbidden jewel, and I'll end up transmuting it. So I'll have a swap, so I can swap between spell damage and I can swap between cost reduction, because the cost reduction is it's definitely not bad, because it's gonna affect this too. So it's gonna go down to like 17, maybe 1700 cost, which means you can just get more blood for bloods in if you're below 50% health. I typically start trying to execute around 50% if I can. It gets a little sketchy if you start doing it lower, but you definitely can. But yeah, in pen on all the pieces, and max mag in pen, max mag. Powered on the back bar for the resto staff. We do this for the passive. Just gives huge heals. This, yeah, have a light living death ability slotted, which we do on the back bar. Just increases our critical chance, which is great. It's important to note this. Where is it? True Sworn. It does, so the spell crit. It works. So it works for spell crit for healing, but it doesn't give you critical healing damage. It just gives you critical damage. So it doesn't make your heals stronger, but it does increase. It still increases the chance at which you'll get a critical heal, essentially, which is what we want. And it pairs really nicely. So we still go up to like, it's like a 70%. If we're low, it's 70. It's like 70% chance that we hit a crit on our heal, which is big. So that's pretty nice. Maybe you could do this as precise on your back bar. I just had powered, and I think we're already spec'd quite a bit into critical damage, and we're really only using it for this. So I'd rather just have a stronger base heal, and it also will tick basically. So we'll pick up all the bodies, and we'll be getting a stronger heal off of that. I think it affects that at least once the hit actually starts. The healing is applied essentially. And then we have the Rattle Cage Maul. sharpened. This helps us get up to that 18, almost 18. Up. We get up to 18.8 spell pen, which is huge, very, very big. So we have a lot of damage with the extra critical damage here. We go up to 86 total when we're below 50% health. Cast race against time, and then 50% crit chance, 51.4, and then if our opponent is below 25% health, that goes up to 81.4% crit chance because of the 3 abilities we have slotted here. So you get a lot of damage. So having that pen to force it through is very big. Some people run the greatsword. You want to run this if your opponent has more than more than like 16,000 resistances or something like that, or 18,000, which everyone pretty much should once they're buffed up. So yeah, I definitely recommend the sharpen maul. Definitely the way to go. If you're finding you can't like you're not surviving, you can switch Rattle Cage for Wizard's Respite instead, and you're gonna get more critical resistance. And the second 5-piece bonus will also apply. So when you take damage, you apply minor innervation to the enemy for 5 seconds, reducing their critical damage done. This is pretty nice to deal with, like Nightblades and people that are popping out of stealth with huge crit builds, stuff like that. So that's definitely a reasonable swap. Optimally, what you'd do is you'd put, what is it? Since you don't have to worry about heavy pieces anymore, you'd do True Sworn Maul, and then you'd back bar this. So you get an additional 410 critical resistance. Because it's not that crucial that we have True Sworn on the back bar, but it's up to you. That's probably one I'd consider if you want to stack critical resistance. Try them both, really. But either one's probably fine, right? They're probably very comparable to each other. This one just reduces the damage you take. The other one's just increasing the amount of healing you're gonna get. Yeah, so that's those are the sets. Food and potions, I think we went over already, but we'll just do it quick. Obviously, we're doing Bewitched Sugar Skulls, yeah, and we're doing the tripods. Pop them on your back bar. Champion Point Tree. Let's see, critical chance. I'm working on maxing this out. You definitely want to get maxed out. I thought about taking points out of this and putting them into here. I just haven't actually sat down and done the math and looked at it yet, but that's an option. Critical damage, critical healing, 10%. Definitely want this for this build. Biting Aura, increase your damage done with area of effect attacks, which means our Colossus gets the buff, Blastbone gets the buff, our Graveyard gets the buff, and our Skellypet gets the buff. Previously, the single target used to affect Blastbones, and on the build editor it does. But at some point, like, it's been bugged for a while. Like, it like bounces back and forth between the two. I don't really know which one. I don't know which one it's actually supposed to be. But right now in the live game, this one increases Blastbones. It's tooltip at least. So I definitely recommend going with Biting Aura. And then this one, because it buffs the damage on all of our abilities, obviously an extra, and our healing. 150 extra spell damage is really nice. Max Mag. And then critical resistance, because we don't have any other way to get that besides obviously Wizard's Respite. So you could fool around, you could take this out if you want to play with Wizard's Respite instead, and then this could be a flex spot, or you can keep it in there. Either way, it's kind of a personal preference. Once you get this all maxed out, and that one I'd go for, definitely go for this, because we already have and spell resistance, so hardy, and then elemental ages, maybe this one, and I think there's one other healing one. Yeah, healing done, this one as well. So those would be the ones I'd go after once I get this one done. Let's see, orange tree. We have max health. I debated not using this. I think it's definitely best to use it. Basically, if you don't use it when you take damage, when you use, like, if you use blood for blood after that, you'll be dealing more damage, right? Because a larger percentage of your health will be missing because your total health is lower, assuming you take the same damage, same amount of damage. So there was a consideration for that, but survivability wise, you definitely want the max health. You just can't go too low. We're sitting at 26, which is fine. Let's see, recovery. This is huge. This works great for Magcro. It's very nice. This is great. We want status effects on us because the buffs. Some of them buff our Breton passive, and then we also get this cost reduction. You probably want to try and spec points around this. I don't really know if you can. I think you probably have to unlock it because we don't really want to reduce the duration of our elemental status effects applied to Yep. We don't really want this. We want them up because we get more spell resistance that way. Slippery. That was the other one. I kind of tested this one too. But I didn't like it as much. Sometimes you just still end up dying. This way, at least it's going to break free and you're going to have stamina, so you can go and dodge roll, block, do whatever. So that's nice. Obviously, these are just, you can just go look at these ones. Increasing movement speed, that's big. Max health. This should not be here. This should be taken out. It's part of a ability, flexibility slot. You go and spec this in here. But we'll go over that in a hot sec. Let's see. So this one's Teed's Blessing. I definitely recommend this one for Magcro. It's really slow. This is just cost effective to have that, and this just reduces the amount of food you need to eat all the time. I just have this for farming. If it was a spare account, I'd recommend these two passives if you have enough points. And obviously the reduced fall damage. That's a big one. I'd spec points into that. And I think I'm just dumping some stuff into gold to have more money. So yeah, so that's the build. Flex slots. Ultimates are relatively flexible. You can 100% run Dawnbreaker with this build. It's actually pretty good. I'm just not as I haven't used it as much as someone who's plays a stamina character. So if you're a stamina character or you main stamina character, I'd probably just run Dawnbreaker smiting, especially this patch. I think it's probably just better for this build. Ice Comet's great. It really helps sure up the if people get hit with the comet, the movement speed obviously is a huge issue. If people are trying to run away from you, it makes executing them with blood for blood a lot easier. If you're having survivability issues and you don't want to use Wizard's Respite, I would recommend using Dampen Magic, and then slotting one of the champion point slots in the red tree for the shields. So this shield, it will go up to like 6k, and because we're wearing 7 light, it will give you 42% damage reduction on the shield. So the only drawback obviously is it's only a 6k shield, but I mean it's still comparable to the type of resistances that people are getting right now. So it will definitely keep you alive. It's actually a pretty strong effect. It's kind of expensive. You can't really spam it as much, which is partly why I chose to go for Race Against Time. It gives us more crit damage. The movement speed makes you kind of difficult to hit with the way the game is functioning at the moment, just because you're moving so fast. So that's kind of why I went with Race Against Time, and because it helps with the executes. Back bar, you can go with Lice Champion for the 20% critical damage increase. That's quite big, especially taking into consideration our sets, right? So now you'd go up to 106% extra critical damage if you crit, and this is also cheap, right? So if you're having trouble getting to your Colossus at 243, you can slot this too on your back bar. It's definitely an option. If you're familiar with Animate Blast Bones and you play with it a lot, I would recommend trying to use that on the front bar because it's going to give you access, obviously, to the passive. I think we already talked about it a little bit. So yeah, if you have experienced it, I'd just go that route. But yeah, I think that's it for the build. So yeah, so it's the Bloodburst Necro. I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think in the comments section. There's probably better things you can do out there with dots and like silly cheesy stuff. Like you could probably put Zons on here, but like it doesn't appeal to me. I have Zons. I tested it out, and it just wasn't for me. I don't like it for dueling. I don't typically like it for regular gameplay. You know, I tested out Ice Hearts too. Tested out a bunch of stuff, but yeah, this is definitely a really challenging build. This is the hardest build I've played so far, just because of how Blood for Blood works. But you can get a lot out of it. You can definitely 1vx people, and like not tomato cans or whatever. You can X like good players because they're not expecting the burst. And when you line it up, like you can just delete people very quickly. But anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys think. Leave a like. Yeah, anything I missed or anything like that, any questions, just let me know.